فلولا إذا بلغت الحلقوم وأنتم حينئذ تنظرون ونحن أقرب إليه منكم ولكن لا تبصرون فلولا إن كنتم غير مدينين ترجعونها إن كنتم صادقين صدق الله العظيم. The most certain thing in our life, as we all know, it's death. There is nothing more certain than maut. It's something that everyone understands, realizes, and believes that someday he and she has to leave this world. When it comes to believing, there are people who reject anything and everything. People are rejecting the most known facts in the life, but when it comes to death, maut, no one can reject it. But at the same time, it's also a fact of our life that this most certain thing that we all know it, no one likes to remember it. No one likes to talk about it. And we don't want to be in that position either. We don't want to imagine ourselves being on the deathbed. No one has escaped death up to this day. Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, the greatest of the people, and kings, rulers, people with huge armies, people who defeated everyone in the world, finally they were defeated by death. Strongest people in the world, they were seen on the deathbed. And finally everyone was put under the ground. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reminds us in the hadith, الكيس من دان نفسه وعمل لما بعد الموت. Wise is a person who judges himself. Wise is a person who judges himself and controls his desires. وعمل لما بعد الموت, and does the things that will help him after death. His a'mal are for ما بعد الموت, for things that would be helping him after he would leave this world. His a'mal are not limited to just this world. He is preparing himself for that life. As you know, Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, after introducing the iman in Allah, the first thing they introduced was iman in akhirah. And the reason, because when people would believe in akhirah, then they would be worried about correcting their a'mal. They know there is a judgment. They know that each and every deed that they perform in their life, they would be judged for it in akhirah. If there is no fear of judgment, people are totally free to do whatever they want. Just imagine, there is no law in the country and there are no courts. Maybe some of the criminals initially would think that I would like to live in that type of country where there are no laws, so that he can keep on committing the crimes and no one can take him to justice. There is no court in the country. But even for criminals, that is not good. When we were children, we heard this story from our elders And Imam Jalaluddin Rumi rahmatullahi alayhi have also mentioned this example in his book. That a person went to a town where there were no laws. There were no rules and regulations. And he was very happy that this is the best place to live in. Because we can do whatever we want. You can steal, you can rob people, you can do whatever you want. And there is no court, there is no rules, there are no rules, there are no laws. The king is sitting there and he just gives his decision about whatever, there are no rules he follows. Whatever he feels like saying, he just says it, and that's the final rule. So this person liked the country and he stayed over there. One day as he's walking on the street, some people approached him and they were trying to measure a rope on his neck. They said, we have to measure this. And they found that rope to be exactly on the size of his neck. So they took him to the king. They said, the king wants a person who has the rope on the size of his neck. So he went to the king. The king saw the size of the rope and the size of his neck. He said, very good. So now this is the person who would be crucified. So he's asking, could you tell me what's happening over here? Why do I have to be on that place? Why do you have to crucify me? I said, yes, there was a robber that killed someone. So we thought, we have to do something about him and we have to stop this killing, so we are going to kill him. So we asked the person to make a rope so that we can put him on the cross, we can hang him up. When the rope came, it was on the size of his neck. So we said, we'll find someone that will have a neck on the size of this rope and we will kill that person. So he says, but I didn't do anything. He says, don't you know that there is no laws in the country here? You can't challenge anything. It's just the size of the rope. We need a person who has his neck is on the size of this rope. And now you are the person who is supposed to be killed. So, not having laws is not good for anyone. And this is why Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam always remind us that the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are above every rule. Above any laws of this world. And the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the fear of the judgment of Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be greater than the fear of any other person in this life. If people would punish us regardless of what kind of punishment that would be, it would be nothing comparing to the adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the fear of the judgment, remembering Yawm al-Hisab, is the thing that will bring peace in people's life. That will make people behave. That will make people follow the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, everyone would just be very free of doing whatever he or she wants, as long as they cannot be caught according to the law of the country. As long as there are no cameras over there is no police over there is no one watching. But when person remembers Yawm al-Hisab, now he realizes Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me all times and he even knows my intention. Nothing can be hidden from Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, after believing Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing they introduced was believe in Akhirah. That remember there is a day of resurrection. Remember there is a day when everyone would be judged. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the beginning of Quran al-Kareem, after Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, He tells us, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawm al-Din. The honor of the day of judgment, reminding us of the judgment. That remember there is a judgment. There is a day when all of us would be judged for all of our a'mal. And the judge will be Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Al-Qayyisu man dana nafsa. Wise is a person who controls his desires, judges himself in this life. And then, وَعَمِلَ لِمَا بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ. And he keeps on doing things that will help him after death. if we are to think about our life, what things are we doing in our lives that would help us after death? How many things that we do every day that would help us after death, and how many things are those that may be hurting us after death? وَعَمِلَ لِمَا بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ. Every amal will be there after maut. In fact, there is a well-known saying by the scholars in Arabic language, Al-Qabru Sanduq al-Amal. What is grave? They said the introduction of grave is not a place where a person is buried. The true introduction of the grave is that it's a place where all the deeds are being placed. Whatever we do, it goes in our grave. It's a box where all the a'mal are being deposited. Our words, our actions, everything that we look at, everything that we hear, everything is getting deposited in that safe box over there, which is our qabr. Al-Kayyis man dana nafsa. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is introducing the wise people. That wise are those who would control themselves in this life, who would judge themselves in this life, وَعَمِلَ لِمَا بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ, and they prepare for life after death. وَالْعَاجِزْ مَنْ أَتْبَعَ نَفْسَهُ هَوَاهَا. And the loser is the person who keeps on following desires. And desire doesn't just mean one type of desire. Subhanallah, human beings have so many different types of desires. Some people desire the beauty of the world. There are others who don't care about the beauty of this world. They just desire to have more money in their life. Believe me, there are people who earn millions. They don't spend it on themselves, they don't spend it on no one. The happiness of their life is only by knowing that I have preserved this much. At the end, he leaves everything behind and goes. But this is what he desired in this life. This is what this person worked for in this world. There are people who desire nice gardens, and this is all what they work for. There are people who desire high degrees, and this is all what they care about in their life, as long as I hold the status and this degree. There are people who would desire positions, and they always work for their positions. There are people who just desire food. They like just good food, nothing else that they care about in this life. So many different desires. Then we go to the other side. There are people, their desire is to destroy others. Yes. We see those type of people in the world too. This is what the person desires. He doesn't like to see any human being around. He wants to just destroy people. There are people who desire to see people in hardships. And they will try to, they laugh when people are in hardship. It makes them happy. That he's in a difficult situation, that's so nice. There are some high professions where these professional people enjoy seeing people in difficulties. And it gives them a feeling of happiness that good if people are going through these difficulties. There are people who would laugh at people starving to death, and they would enjoy seeing those scenes. يا أيها الناس إن وعد الله حق فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور إن الله عنده علم الساعة وينزل الغيث ويعلم ما في الأرحام وما تدري نفس ماذا تكسب غدا وما تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت إن الله العليم الخبير صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us in these ayahs that whatever promise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made with us is haqq. And therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Therefore do not allow the worldly life to deceive you. Do not allow this dunya to make you forget the promises of Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. Surely Allah's promise is true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us that every person has to leave this world. That is wa'dullah. That is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that everyone has to leave this dunya, this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us that as we, after our death, there will be a day of resurrection. We all will be resurrected. That is wa'dullah. That is Allah's promise with all of us. And that is haqq. Then a day would be there for judgment, when every person will be judged for his and her a'mal. And that is a true promise from Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then there is either Jannah or Jahannam. And that is wa'dullah, that is a true promise from Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is our final destination. The people of Iman going to Jannah and disbelievers going to Jahannam wal a'yadu billah. And therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that protect yourself against the hellfire that has been prepared for the disbelievers. Make sure you don't do what disbelievers do, otherwise you would be sent to that side with them. So these are promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all human beings. But this dunya comes to us in a way as this is everything. As if this dunya is our final destination. This was the final destination as we came into this dunya. Now this is all what we have to do with our lives, work for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Don't allow this dunya, this worldly life, to deceive you, to make you feel that this dunya will do everything for you. That if you have this world, if you earn enough in this world, then, or if you're living a peaceful life in this world, that you got everything you wanted. And this is what you're looking for. This is what you're supposed to be looking for. لَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Don't allow this world to deceive you, to make you feel that it's everything. This world is nothing. The good time of this world goes away, and after that for sure a difficulty would come that will make us forget all of the good time that we have. After every hardship, a good time comes. That good time makes us forget the hardships, and then the person doesn't even remember that I had to go through that hardship. This is the reality of this dunya. Neither difficulties nor the good times of this world would last forever. And not only that, they don't last for too long. After a short time, they're forgotten. The best time of our life, if you try to think what was the best time, we have to think a lot before we would say that maybe that one. At the time when we're enjoying that time, we thought this is the best time of my life. Sometimes in a hardship, in a difficulty, the person feels the time is not passing by. I don't know why the time doesn't go through. Someone told him that most probably in 2 days your problem will be solved. He's continuously looking at his watch to see that when these 2 days would pass and would go through so that he's out of the hardship. Someone is in real pain. Doctors have told him this pain will last for 24 hours. And the person is continuously looking at his watch. When the 24 hours would pass so that I'm out of this pain. The person is trying to get this time out of his life. And after this time is gone, the pain is gone, difficulty is gone, hardship is gone, now the person doesn't even remember. 5 years later, ask the person about that hardship and difficulty. He won't even remember anything about it. Oh yeah, I had things. Yeah, are you talking about that thing? This is how this dunya is. At the time of these situations, the person feels this is it. After it's gone, we don't even remember it. And as soon as the person will close his eyes from this dunya, ruh departs the body, the person is being placed in his grave, would not want to remember anything about this dunya. Now if that person was to think about all the good things he had in this world, he would feel there was nothing good. What was good about that world? There was nothing good about it. How about the day when you got your award, your certificate? There was nothing good about it. How about the day when you had such a big celebration? I don't think that was any good. Try to remind the person the best moments of his life, there is nothing good in it. We ourselves, who are spending thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars sometimes, to get that occasion of happiness. 2 years later, the person is in hardship and difficulty. Try to remind him of that happiness. He doesn't want to remember it. This is what this dunya is all about. Nothing in this dunya is real. We may say this dunya is just like a dream. Believe me, when a person would leave this world, when a person would leave this dunya will not look even like a dream. Dream is still in this dunya when a person sees a dream, enjoys the dream better than what a person would enjoy a dunya and would go in the akhirah and try to think about it. It will not even equal to a dream, a good dream that you had in this life. The enjoyments of this dunya are useless. The good times of this dunya are just going to pass and they will be forgotten. Hardships and difficulties of this dunya, they mean nothing. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves us from the hardships of the akhirah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves us from the hardships of the qabr and the hardships of akhirah, then these hardships of the dunya are nothing. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not come to this world to make us go through hardships wal-'iyāzu billah. His mission was not to make his ummah suffer and have difficulty. His mission was to make sure the ummah will have the best time. And what is the best time? To enjoy everything at a time when it's real time for enjoyment. To have the real enjoyment of the akhirah.